A man works 30 years at the same company, makes $55,000 a year, does the math, and $1.65 million passes through his hands over 3 decades. He retires with $9,000 in his savings account. Not 900,000, 9,000. The money came in, it went out, every single day for 30 years. It passed through his life the same way water passes through a net. No one stole it, no disaster took it. It just moved. Because nothing in his daily routine was designed to make any of it stay. Now look at Buffett. He made his first million before he turned 30. Most people assume that came from one genius stock pick. One lucky break, one big bet that happened to work out. It did not. It came from a daily practice he started at 10 years old. Not a trading strategy, not a secret formula. A set of small things he did every single day with money and with his own mind. He tracked every penny. He read everything he could find about business. He automated his savings before most people knew what the word meant. And he never stopped. Not once, not for 70 years. This video is about the daily engine. 5 parts that build wealth the way most people never think about building it. Not through one big move, through what you do every single day with the 24 hours you are given. None of these 5 parts require money to start. All of them require you to show up. And by the end, you will understand why Buffett says the snowball needs wet snow and a really long hill. But also why it needs a push, every single morning. If this way of thinking about money makes sense to you, subscribe to this channel. This is where we break down how the financial machine actually works. Most people treat money like weather. It comes, it goes. Sometimes it is good, sometimes it is bad. They react to it. They never operate it. Buffett treats money like an engine, something you build, something you maintain, something you run every single day, whether you feel like it or not. The engine ignores your mood. It ignores your motivation. It runs on structure, and that structure is daily, not weekly, not monthly, not when you get around to it. Daily. Buffett calls it the snowball. You need wet snow and a really long hill. But the part he does not always say out loud is that you also need to push the snowball every single day. You cannot push it once and walk away. It stops rolling. James Clear wrote something in Atomic Habits that captures this with pure math. If you get 1% better every day for a year, you end up 37 times better by the end. 1.01 raised to the 365th power equals 37.78. The reverse is also true. 1% worse every day for a year, and you are down to 0.03, practically nothing. The direction of your daily habits is not a preference, it is a trajectory. And trajectories do not forgive. They do not wait for you to get motivated. They do not pause while you figure out your plan. They compound in whichever direction you are already moving. Right now. Today. Think about the difference between 2 people with the exact same income. Person A makes 1 meaningful financial decision every month. That is 12 decisions a year. After 5 years, they have made 60. Person B makes 1 meaningful financial decision every single day. That is 365 a year. After 5 years, they have made 1,825. The gap between 60 and 1,800 is not talent, it is not intelligence, it is not luck. It is frequency. Buffett does not make better individual decisions than every other investor on earth. He makes more of them, every single day, at a rate that compounds the quality of his judgment the same way interest compounds the value of $1. Buffett's morning does not start with the stock market. It does not start with meetings or phone calls or emails. It starts with a stack of newspapers. The Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Financial Times, USA Today, the Omaha World Herald. 5 newspapers before most people finish their first cup of coffee. Then he reads annual reports, letters from CEOs, industry analyses, biographies of business builders, 5 to 6 hours of reading every single day. since he was a teenager delivering those same newspapers door to door. This is the foundation of the daily engine. Knowledge first, decisions second, money third. Always in that order. And here is what most people miss entirely. The engine has 5 moving parts, 5 daily practices that work together like gears inside a machine. Knowledge, tracking, automation, attention, identity. Remove one, and the engine runs rough. Remove 2, and it stalls. Remove all 5, and you end up like the man who worked 30 years and retired with $9,000. None of these parts cost money. All of them cost a decision, a daily decision. So let me show you each one, starting with the one Buffett has been doing longer than anything else in his life. If this is changing how you think about your daily routine with money, write in the comments right now. I am building my engine. The first part of the daily engine is reading, not scrolling headlines, not watching 3-minute summaries. Reading. Buffett reads 500 pages a day when you count everything. Annual reports, SEC filings, newspapers, books, industry analyses. He told a group of Columbia University students the secret to building wealth was right there on his desk. He pointed to a stack of documents 2 feet high and said, "Read 500 pages like this every day." That is how knowledge works. It builds up like compound interest. Most of you can do it, he said, but I guarantee most of you will not do it. The ones who do it will be the ones sitting where I am sitting decades from now. Why does reading compound into wealth? Not because books contain hidden money codes you unlock on page 200. Because reading builds pattern recognition. Buffett reads annual reports from companies he will never invest in. He reads about industries that bore most people to sleep. He studies failures, especially failures, because every failure reveals a pattern. Every pattern becomes a filter. And when you have enough filters built from enough patterns over enough years, you stop walking into the traps that everyone else keeps falling into. You see the overvalued company before the crash. You recognize the bubble before it pops. You notice the business model that actually works before Wall Street notices it. That is decades of reading showing up as judgment. Charlie Munger, Buffett's partner for over 60 years, said it without decoration. I have never in my life met a wise person who did not read all the time. Not a single one. Munger himself read obsessively until the day he died at 99. History, science, psychology, biology, philosophy, not just finance. Everything he could get his hands on. He called it building a latticework of mental models. Every new field you study gives you a new lens to see the same problem through. Most people walk through life with one lens. Buffett and Munger spent decades building dozens of them, all from reading, all from daily reading. Knowledge does not add up the way money adds up in a savings account. It compounds the way money compounds in an investment. In your first year of reading about money, you learn vocabulary. You learn what an index fund is, what compound interest means, what a balance sheet tells you. Basic building blocks. By year 5, you start connecting things. You notice that a housing bubble looks exactly like a tulip bubble from 4 centuries ago. By year 10, the connections multiply so fast that insight becomes automatic. By year 50, you are sitting in Omaha seeing things that every Ivy League analyst with a Bloomberg terminal cannot see. That gap is not IQ, it is not insider information, it is the daily compound effect of reading applied over a lifetime, and it started with 30 minutes and 1 newspaper. Here is the part that makes this available to anyone watching this right now. You do not need 5 hours a day. Buffett has the luxury of reading being his entire job description. You do not, but you have 30 minutes. One book about money per month. That is 12 books a year, 60 books in 5 years. After 60 books about investing, psychology, economics and business, you will understand how the financial system actually works better than 95% of the people around you. And that understanding will change every financial decision you make for the rest of your life. Bill Gates reads 50 books a year. Obama read for 1 hour every single night in the White House. Elon Musk taught himself rocket science from textbooks he ordered online. The pattern across every person who built extraordinary results is identical. Daily reading, without exception. If this is giving you a new way to see your daily routine, let me know by liking this video. That feedback tells me this work is worth continuing. The second part of the daily engine is the morning ledger. Most people have absolutely no idea what they spend on a daily basis. Not a vague idea, no idea at all. Buffett started tracking every single penny when he was 10 years old. 10. He had a physical ledger. He wrote down every dollar that came in and every cent that went out. Nobody forced him. It was never a school assignment, because something in him understood a principle that most adults never grasp. Awareness comes before control. You cannot steer what you cannot see. You cannot fix what you refuse to measure. There is a study from a weight loss research program that proved this principle in a completely different context. People who wrote down what they ate every single day lost twice as much weight as people who followed the exact same diet without writing anything down. Same guidelines, same meal plans, same exercise recommendations. The only variable was the act of recording. Writing it down made the unconscious conscious. It turned invisible choices into visible data. Money operates on the exact same principle. The moment you track your spending daily, you stop making purchases on autopilot. Every transaction becomes a decision instead of a reflex, and decisions can be changed. Reflexes cannot. The average American has no idea where approximately 30% of their income disappears every month. Not lost to bills, not consumed by emergencies, vanished into transactions so small they never register individually. A $4 coffee on Tuesday, a $12 delivery fee on Thursday, an app renewal nobody remembers authorizing, a convenience store run that turned into $18 of things you cannot name an hour later, each one invisible, each one harmless. But stacked across a month they become hundreds. Across a year they become thousands. Across a decade they become the difference between the man who retired with 9,000 and the person who retired with a portfolio that pays their bills forever. Here is the difference between what most people do and what Buffett figured out at age 10. Most people budget monthly. They sit down at the end of the month, look at their bank statement, and react to what happened. That is an autopsy. You are examining the body after it is already dead. There is nothing left to save. The money is already spent. Daily tracking is a live dashboard. You see the number moving in real time while you still have the power to change it. Buffett does not review his $100 billion portfolio once a month. He reads and analyzes every single day. He has real-time awareness of where value is building and where it is leaking. Your personal finances deserve the same daily attention that a $900 billion company gets. The principle scales from a checking account to Berkshire Hathaway. Consider one number and follow it for 30 years. $7 a day spent on something you do not need. A lunch you could have packed, a subscription nobody watches, an upgrade that added nothing to your life. $7 a day is $2,555 per year. Now take that same amount and put it into an index fund, returning 10% annually. After 30 years, that $7 a day becomes $481,000. Not from a raise, not from a side hustle, not from a lucky stock pick, from seeing the $7, from noticing it, from choosing to redirect it instead of letting it disappear into nothing every single morning. The problem was never the coffee. The problem was the blindness. The daily ledger fixes the blindness before it costs you $500,000. If you understand the engine, but feel stuck on actually making it run in your own life, if the gap between knowing and doing still feels enormous, check the first pinned comment below this video. It is there for people who are ready to stop studying the machine and start building theirs. The third part of the daily engine is automation. George Clason wrote a small book in 1926 called The Richest Man in Babylon. The core lesson fits into 5 words: pay yourself first. Almost 100 years later, this remains the single most important financial principle that most people completely ignore. They pay their landlord first. They pay their car note first. They pay their credit card company first. They pay their streaming services first. They pay everyone else on the planet first. Then they look at what is left over and promise themselves they will save some of it next month. There is never anything left over. That is not bad luck. That is an architecture problem. And architecture problems require architecture solutions. What pay yourself first actually means in practice is mechanical and automatic. The moment your paycheck lands in your account, a fixed percentage moves out immediately. Not manually, not when you remember to do it, not when you feel disciplined enough to open the app. Automatically, before you see the money, before your brain registers that payday happened, before the first impulse purchase of the week can reach it. The money is already gone into an investment account or a retirement fund. It is not the leftover. It is the first slice, treated the same way your rent is treated, as something that moves on a fixed date without negotiation and without permission. Buffett said it as simply as anyone has ever said anything about money. Do not save what is left after spending. Spend what is left after saving. Read that again, slowly. The order matters more than the amount. Most people spend first and try to save the crumbs that survive. Buffett saves first and builds his life around what remains. That single inversion, saving first instead of last, is the difference between building wealth and hoping for it. And it does not require discipline on day 200 because the system runs itself. You set it up once. It executes forever. That is not willpower. That is engineering. Here is the scientific reason automation beats intention every single time over any meaningful time horizon. Roy Baumeister spent years studying something called decision fatigue. Your willpower works like a battery. Every decision you make throughout the day drains it. What to wear, what to eat for lunch, how to respond to a frustrating email, whether to take the highway or surface streets. By evening, the battery is nearly empty. A famous study tracked Israeli parole judges making identical decisions at different times of day. In the morning, they granted parole 65% of the time. By late afternoon, right before a meal break, approval rates dropped to nearly 0%. Same judges, same type of cases, same criteria, different energy level. If you rely on willpower to transfer money into savings at the end of a long month, you are asking a completely depleted brain to make a clear financial decision. Automation removes the brain from the equation entirely, and that is the point. $200 per month, invested automatically at 10% annual returns for 30 years, becomes $452,000. The person who set up that automatic transfer 5 years ago has never once thought about it since. The money moved, the market grew, the compounding ran. All while they slept, all while they worked, all while they forgot the transfer even existed. Meanwhile, the person who planned to manually transfer money whenever they could has zero. They earned the same. They had the same intentions. They relied on a system that requires a fresh decision every single month, and fresh decisions lose to automated ones every single time across decades. The math is not even close. Look at how Buffett thinks about daily revenue inside Berkshire Hathaway to understand why automation matters so much. BNSF Railway, one of Berkshire's largest wholly owned businesses, does not generate its billions from one massive shipment per year. It earns revenue from freight trains moving across America every single day. Thousands of trains, millions of tons of cargo, every single day, rain or shine, recession or boom. The revenue is daily, and the compounding effect is annual. Geco collects premiums daily. Dairy Queen sells blizzards daily. Buffett does not build businesses that require a miracle to produce results. He builds businesses that produce small amounts of cash every single day, like clockwork. Your automatic savings transfer is the personal finance version of that exact same principle. The fourth part of the daily engine is one most people have never thought about as a financial decision. Protecting your attention. Data Reportal published their annual report for 2023, showing the average person spends 2 hours and 27 minutes on social media every single day. Run that number across a full year, 897 hours, 37 full days. More than an entire month of your life every year spent scrolling through content someone else created to capture exactly this, your time. Not building anything, not learning anything, not tracking anything, just absorbing. Your attention is worth real money, but it is not worth money to you. It is worth money to the platforms that sell it. Every scroll generates data. Every view generates ad revenue. Every notification that pulls you back into the app was engineered by teams of psychologists and software engineers to do one specific thing. Keep your eyes on their screen for 10 more seconds, then 10 more, then 10 more. Each second you give them is a microtransaction. You pay with your most valuable, non-renewable resource. They collect the revenue. The attention economy is not a metaphor. It is the business model of the most profitable companies on earth. And you are the product being sold. A study published by Charles Schwab found that 60% of millennials say social media directly influences their spending decisions. The word is influences, not inspires. There is a difference that matters enormously. Inspiration comes from inside. It is your own idea, triggered by something you saw. Influence comes from outside. It is someone else's idea planted in your brain through repetition and emotional association. Someone shows you their vacation, and now you feel the need for a vacation. Someone shows you their new car, and suddenly your car feels inadequate. The spending trigger was never need, it was exposure. And you are exposed for 2 hours and 27 minutes every single day without any filter protecting your wallet. Buffett does not have a smartphone sitting on his desk. He has said publicly and repeatedly that he barely uses one. He does not scroll Instagram. He does not browse Twitter. He does not watch TikTok. He reads. 5 to 6 hours of reading while the rest of the world scrolls through 15-second clips of strangers spending money. He is 94, but this has nothing to do with age or technology. This is a deliberate decision about what his daily attention feeds. Every hour he spends reading is an hour the knowledge engine runs. Every hour spent consuming content that someone else designed to trigger spending impulses is an hour the engine sits idle. He chose which engine his attention would fuel, and that choice compounded for 7 decades. 2.5 hours of daily consumption means 2.5 hours of daily absence from the engine. In those 2.5 hours, you could have read 40 pages of a book about investing. You could have tracked every dollar you spent this week. You could have researched one index fund. You could have set up one automatic transfer. You could have done any single part of the daily engine. Instead, the attention went somewhere else, to someone else's content, to someone else's ad revenue, to someone else's compound growth. The opportunity cost of scrolling is invisible, and that is precisely what makes it so expensive. It does not show up on your bank statement. It shows up in the gap between where you are and where you could have been. But here is the deeper layer of the attention trap that almost nobody talks about. Social media does not simply show you what other people purchased. It shows them purchasing it while looking happy. The product becomes fused with the emotion in your brain. You are not buying the sneakers. You are buying the confidence the person in the video appeared to have while wearing them. You are not booking the vacation. You are booking the feeling of freedom the influencer projected from the beach. And feelings do not compound. The watch does not make you confident 18 months later. The car does not earn respect from strangers after the first week. Feelings depreciate faster than a new car driving off the lot. Investments compound. Feelings depreciate. The daily engine chooses compound over depreciation every single morning. The fifth part of the daily engine is the part that makes all the other four permanent. Identity. James Clear wrote a line in Atomic Habits that reframes every financial habit you will ever build. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. That means every time you track a dollar, you are not just organizing your finances, you are casting a vote. Every time you read a page about money, you are not just gaining information, you are casting a vote. The votes accumulate, and eventually the election is decided. You become the person. The habits stop being things you do and start being things you are. There is a gap between two sentences that sounds small but determines everything. Sentence 1, I check my money every day. Sentence 2, I will check my finances when I have time. The first sentence describes an identity. The second describes an intention. Identities drive behavior automatically. You do not negotiate with yourself about whether to brush your teeth in the morning. You just do it because you are someone who brushes their teeth. Intentions require motivation. And motivation is the most unreliable fuel source in human psychology. It shows up on Monday and disappears by Wednesday. When your financial behavior is wired to identity instead of intention, the engine runs without negotiation, without internal debate, without waiting for the mood to be right. Philippa Lally at University College London published a study in 2010 that changed everything we thought we knew about habits. The popular claim was that it takes 21 days to form a habit. Her research showed the real number is 66 days on average. 2 months and 6 days of daily repetition before the behavior becomes automatic. That means if you started tracking your money today, every dollar in, every dollar out, by early May, it would feel as automatic as locking your front door when you leave the house. You would not think about it. You would not debate it. You would just do it. 66 days of daily pushing, then the snowball rolls by itself. Buffett's financial identity was locked in before most kids finish middle school. By 13, he was waking up before dawn to deliver newspapers. He tracked every dollar he earned in his ledger. He read business biographies borrowed from the public library. He was calculating compound interest on napkins while his classmates were playing baseball. By the time he entered his 20s, he did not need willpower to make good financial decisions. He did not need motivation to save or to read or to track. He had become someone who does those things. The daily repetition had settled into his identity the way a river settles into its bed. Once the channel is carved, the water flows without effort. That is the power of identity compounding over years. Daily reading makes you a reader. Daily saving makes you a saver. Daily investing makes you an investor. These labels are not job titles on a business card. They are the accumulated weight of thousands of daily votes cast over years. Cast enough votes in the same direction, and the outcome is inevitable. You do not decide to be an investor one morning and become one. You become one gradually, and then suddenly, through daily repetition that felt boring and small and insignificant in the moment, until one day you look up and the engine is running on its own. And it has been running for so long that stopping it would feel stranger than continuing. The daily engine does not just change the numbers in your bank account over time. It changes the operating system running behind your eyes. The way you evaluate a purchase shifts. The way you think about a Tuesday afternoon shifts. The way you measure progress shifts. You stop seeing time as something to fill with consumption and start seeing it as something to invest in growth. That transition from consumer of hours to investor of hours is the deepest output of the daily engine. The money is a consequence. The real transformation is in how you see everything else. Now here is the part most people do not want to hear. For every daily engine that builds wealth, there is a daily anti-engine that destroys it. And most people are running both at the same time. The engine pushes forward, the anti-engine pulls backward. If the anti-engine is stronger, and for most people it is, you go nowhere. You feel stuck. You feel like the system is rigged. You feel like no matter what you do, the math never works in your favor. The problem is not the system. The problem is two engines running in opposite directions inside your daily life. And the first step to fixing it is seeing both of them clearly. Anti-engine number 1, checking the stock market every single day. Shlomo Benartzi and Richard Thaler published a landmark study in 1995 that showed something most investors refuse to believe. People who check their portfolios daily earn significantly lower returns over time than people who check quarterly or annually. The reason is purely psychological. When you look at the market every day, you see the red days. Markets go down on roughly 46% of all trading days. Almost half the time, the screen is red. And red triggers fear. Fear triggers selling. Selling at a loss locks in the loss permanently. The researchers called it myopic loss aversion. You see the short-term loss so vividly that the long-term gain becomes invisible. Buffett reads about businesses every day. He does not check stock prices every day. The difference between those two activities is the difference between running the engine and running the anti-engine. Anti-engine number 2. Subscription bleeding. A report from C&R Research found the average American carries 11 active subscriptions totaling $219 per month. That is $2,628 per year. Each individual charge is small enough to feel harmless. $15 here, $9.99 there. A trial that auto-renewed 6 months ago that nobody remembers signing up for. But take that $2,628 and invest it at 10% annual returns for 30 years. It becomes $514,000. Over $500,000 draining out of your life in charges so small, they never trigger a moment of concern. The anti-engine does not announce itself. It thrives on amounts too small to notice and time horizons too long to feel. Anti-engine number 3 sits on a credit card statement most people refuse to do the math on. Carry a $5,000 balance at 24.7% APR, which is the current national average, and you are paying $3.39 in interest every single day. Not every month, every single day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. While you sleep, while you work, while you scroll through social media for 2.5 hours. That daily interest payment is building someone else's engine. The bank's engine, the credit card company's engine. Every single day that balance exists, you are an employee of your own debt. Working for a company you never applied to, getting paid nothing for the privilege. Anti-engine number 4 is the most invisible of all because it disguises itself as normal life, the comparison loop. You open social media, you see someone's curated highlight reel, the vacation, the car, the outfit, the apartment. You feel behind. That feeling triggers a purchase designed to close the gap, an emotional buy, a retail therapy session. That purchase lands on a credit card. Now you have slightly more debt. More debt produces more stress. More stress makes the next highlight reel hit even harder. The cycle repeats the next day, and the day after that. It runs on autopilot. Nobody programmed it on purpose, but it operates like a precision-engineered machine that extracts money from your account, one emotional reaction at a time, every single day. Buffett's personal defense against every form of the anti-engine is the most documented in financial history. He still lives in the same house he bought in Omaha in 1958 for $31,500. He drives cars that most middle managers would trade up from. He eats McDonald's for breakfast and has publicly stated he never spends more than $3.17 on it. He drinks 5 cherry Cokes a day. He could own anything on earth. He is worth over $130 billion. He chooses not to because he understood something at a young age that most people never learn. Consumption was never his engine. Building was, and every dollar that does not leave for a purchase stays inside the engine and compounds for one more day, then one more after that. All 4 anti-engines share one trait that makes them so dangerous. They all feel like nothing. $3.39 of daily interest does not feel like a crisis. A $15 streaming subscription does not feel like a financial leak. 20 minutes of scrolling does not feel like a lost investment. An impulse purchase triggered by a stranger's photograph does not feel like a strategic financial error. But stack all of them across 365 days. Then multiply by 10 years, then by 30 years. And you are looking at the complete mathematical explanation for why most people work their entire adult lives and retire with almost nothing. The anti-engine runs on the feeling of nothing. The daily engine runs on the daily decision to notice what the nothing actually costs. The daily engine is not a strategy you deploy when conditions are favorable. It is a practice you maintain regardless of conditions. The distinction matters more than it sounds. You do not skip brushing your teeth because the economy is uncertain. You do not skip it because you had a terrible day at work. You do not skip it because you are not feeling motivated about dental hygiene this week. You brush your teeth because the cost of not brushing compounds. Plaque builds, decay spreads. Problems that were invisible become catastrophically expensive. Your finances work on the same principle. The daily engine is dental hygiene for your money. Skip it and the decay starts immediately. It just takes years before you feel the pain. Buffett did not become worth over $130 billion because of one spectacular trade that changed everything overnight. He became wealthy because of what he did every single morning for more than 70 consecutive years. He woke up. He read. He thought about what he read. He tracked numbers. He waited for the right opportunities. He said no to almost everything. Then he repeated the entire sequence the next morning, and the morning after that, and every single morning for 7 decades without interruption. The most boring daily routine imaginable produced the most extraordinary financial result in the history of investing. Because extraordinary results never come from extraordinary days. They come from ordinary days repeated without stopping. Think about what you did yesterday with your money. Did you track a single dollar that went in or out? Did you read a single page about how money actually works? Did you protect your attention from something designed to make you spend? Did you allow any amount at all, to move automatically into something that compounds? If the answer is no to all 4, then yesterday was a day the engine was completely off. And a day the engine was off is a day the anti-engine was running at full speed in the opposite direction. There is no neutral. There is no coasting. The machine moves in one direction or the other every single day, including today, including right now. Charlie Munger, who spent 6 decades sitting next to Buffett and watching the daily engine produce results that most people consider impossible, said the first rule of compounding in one sentence: never interrupt it unnecessarily. The daily engine is compounding, not just financial compounding, knowledge compounding, attention compounding, identity compounding. Every day you run the engine gets stronger and faster and harder to stop. Every day you skip it, the anti-engine fills the gap. There is no version of wealth building anywhere in history that works without daily repetition. None. Every person who ever built lasting wealth figured this principle out and then applied it without interruption. The question is not whether you can afford to build the daily engine. The question is whether you can afford another 24 hours without it running. If you stayed until the end, write in the comments, "I am starting my engine." There is another video on your screen right now, the next step in understanding how money actually works. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.